If you're ready to level up your knowledge about running and training, these next 55 minutes are unmissable. We're JB and Dan, two physios from Australia dedicated to the everyday athlete. So strap yourselves in and learn how to become a beast of a runner.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Physio Bros. Today we're talking about all things sprinting. Now, if you're someone at the moment who's running multiple kilometers a week, but you're yet to see any improvements in your breathing control, your pace, or your muscle strength, then it might be time to mix it up.
Now today we're going to be breaking down the key benefits of sprinting and why you should be incorporating it into your usual running program. So let's get into it. Now the first benefit is a stronger and easier stride. Now if we think about having a strong stride, basically what I'm talking about here is how much force you're putting into the ground with every single step. We've got to think about some of the best sprinters in the world. If you think about Usain Bolt, what differentiates him from a lot of other runners is how much force he's pushing into the ground with every single stride. Now, when you're practicing sprinting, you should be really focusing on pushing and driving into the ground and then springing off and releasing really quickly. What makes people fast at running isn't their ability to swing their legs through really quickly, it's actually their ability to push as much force through the ground as they can. So as you practice sprinting, how this is actually going to benefit you is you're going to naturally get better at having a stronger stride, having more force going into the ground. So then this translates into when you're doing your Sunday long easy run, that feeling is actually going to be a lot more effortless because you're not putting anywhere near as much force into the ground just in your day-to-day run. So if we think about having an easier stride, as you've practiced these harder efforts, naturally your connective tissues, your muscles, your tendons, and your structures around your joints are going to become able to work in a more effortless manner because they've gotten stronger and they've gotten more durable. This is mainly because you've exposed them to a much higher level of load than they're used to, so naturally they're going to get those benefits. So this will then improve your elastic recoil of your tendons, which is also an essential component to speed, which will then make you have a more effortless stride.
Now, JB briefly touched on this in the first point, but we talked about the benefits of having stronger muscles, bones, and connective tissue. So to address the muscle component, we know that over the age of 30, we naturally lose muscle mass, and this typically impacts our fast twitch muscle fibers. Now that would be something that would naturally reduce our stride length and stride strength as we age. So to try and reduce the impact of that, we know that doing strength training, but also speed work will do wonders for maintaining our muscle strength and therefore improving our running ability. The second benefit is looking at the impact it has on our connective tissue, bones, and tendons. Now this is something that we know, similar to muscles, responds really well to strength and training and speed work. Performing activities that have high impact and forces coming up through our legs is going to really help build bone strength and density, as well as getting your tendons adjusted to increasing the amount of tensile load going through them. So by performing speed work and incorporating it into your routine, you're going to not only be strengthening your muscles, but also all the connective tissue that supports them.
Now for our next benefits, we have to think about the different types of energy production systems that our body has. So on one hand, you've got the aerobic system, and this is basically how our body produces energy for activities when there's a presence of oxygen. And usually this is with lower intensity activities. On the other hand, you've got the anaerobic system, and this is basically where our body needs to produce energy in an environment where there's not oxygen present. This is usually in higher intensity activities such as sprinting, jumping, or heavy weightlifting. And so training intervals is going to improve our anaerobic system. When you're thinking about this particular system, bear with me, but we're going to break it down step by step. So in this system, we've got to look at how it actually produces energy. So in this, it starts with glucose and it basically breaks it up into a few different things, but one of those things is lactate. Now it's a common misconception that lactate is actually the causation of your muscle soreness. Now lactate is actually something really helpful that our body can use in reconverting it back into energy. As we work on sprinting and interval workouts, we're actually improving the lactate's ability to clear some of those other acids that will actually contribute to your muscle soreness. So the way this translates practically is when you're out on your next tempo or threshold or PB attempt run. After doing all this training, which is going to improve your body's ability to clear the lactate and therefore the other acids that cause your soreness, hopefully you're going to be less fatigued on that run and you're going to be able to smash your time out of the park.
Now, as JB mentioned, there's going to be some improvements in your anaerobic capacity, but we're also going to see some significant improvements in your aerobic capacity or your running economy. Now, there are many variables that impact your running economy, but it basically refers to your efficiency to utilize oxygen when you're running at certain speeds. Now, as we expect your aerobic capacity to improve, we're also looking at the impact it has on your VO2 max. Now, your VO2 max is the maximum amount of oxygen that you can utilize when performing physical exercise. So as we do sprints for a longer period of time, we expect your VO2 max to improve, which means that you're going to be far more efficient at utilizing oxygen as you go perform your run. So to give you an example to work off, if we're looking at your 5K running pace and you're currently running 5-minute 30Ks for that run, as your aerobic threshold improves and your running economy improves and your VO2 max improves, you should then notice that you're able to drop your running pace down and be more efficient at utilizing your oxygen, which will improve your speed but at the same amount of perceived effort. Now, we wouldn't recommend sprinting as the main form of training to build your aerobic capacity. Now, we know training at a lower intensity where you can train in a larger volume may be a more realistic way of building your aerobic capacity. But the benefit of sprinting is you're going to train tapping into both your anaerobic and aerobic capacity in one big session.
Our last point is that doing sprinting and interval workouts is going to add variety to your training, and in turn, that's going to reduce your risk of injury. We've got to think about all those previous benefits we mentioned, in particular, the strengthening that it has to our muscles, tendons, connective tissues, and ligaments, and how this is going to reduce your chance of injury. If we think about the hamstrings in particular, sprinting is the only activity where the hamstrings will actually reach maximal contraction. Your hamstring is enduring a load of up to 8 to 10 times that of your body weight right before your foot touches the ground to when it immediately leaves the ground. So by performing sprints and enduring these maximal loads over time, you're going to dramatically reduce your risk of hamstring injury. If we think about hip flexors are another really essential muscle in sprinting, and they're going to make you faster. So the more we train our sprinting, the stronger our hip flexors will get, and this in turn will then translate into more benefits into your everyday running. Lastly, if you just think about variety of training, this is an essential component to any program that you might have exercise-wise. You might be just going out and doing 5K continuous runs every single session and not seeing any improvements because you're doing the same thing and you're not challenging your body. By doing speed, interval, and sprint workouts, what you're doing is you're changing the conditions that your body's working under, meaning it needs to adapt to a different set of conditions, and this in turn, your benefits will absolutely soar.
At the end of the day, guys, speed training is more than just speed. It's a conditioning tool that's going to help us get stronger and more powerful with our running. If you're a distance runner who isn't performing any speed training, then you are definitely going to be losing to someone who is.
If you're a runner and you're not doing strength training at least once a week, then basically you're a fool. You're depriving yourself of speed and performance gains. Here is a really easy and simple strength program for you to follow that's going to help take your running to the next level and reduce your risk of injury. So guys, before we rip into the strength training, I always recommend to start off with a warm-up. 5 to 10 minutes on the rower, on a stair climber, or on a bike, just to get the blood pumping. Really essential to optimize your training.
During your warm-up, we're going to get you to do some pogo jumps. The idea is to try and spend as little time on the ground as possible. To get started, you're going to start off with double leg variations, and then you can progress to single leg variations as you get the hang of it.
Now, exercise 1 is your bread and butter for strength training. So it's going to be a barbell squat. You're aiming for about 6 to 8 reps for 4 sets. Start off with your lighter weights and build that resistance throughout. Now, to recover properly, you should be aiming for at least a 3-minute rest between your sets. For our second exercise, we're going to be doing a Romanian deadlift, which is our favorite hinge style movement. To set yourself up properly, you want to try and maintain a neutral spine in this position, or even just slightly extended at your lumbar spine, which is your lower back. To start the exercise, you're going to hinge forwards, you're going to bend forward at your hips, and you're going to lower the weight towards the ground. Now, if your hamstrings are tight like mine, then it's okay to have a soft knee bend whilst you perform this exercise. Now, if you're wondering, am I doing this properly? Then you should be feeling in the upper portion of your hamstring, so just below your bottom, and it should be burning as you work through the reps. Now, the reason why I suggest RDLs is hamstrings are essentially our muscles that help us brake or slow forward momentum when we run. A really obvious time that this is important is when we're running downhill and you want to maintain control. Now, to get started, you can go with a double leg RDL, but I always suggest runners to try and progress to a single leg RDL. You're going to get the benefit of not only your hamstring strength, but working on your ankle stability by progressing to that variation. And thirdly, we're going to move on to strengthening our calf complex. Now, there might be some of you blaming your genetics for not building massive calves, but it's not about mass, it's about strength. Our calves are the most important muscles for forward propulsion when we run, so it's really important that we don't neglect them. And one of the most important muscles when we run is our soleus. Now, this muscle works really hard in pointing our foot down or pushing off the ground when our knee is in a slightly bent position. So it's important when we're trying to strengthen our soleus that we perform it in a bent knee position.
For this, we choose the soleus wall squat. Put a weight plate on your thighs for the resistance and move your heels up and down. This also challenges your quads in a nice isometric hold.
Now, if you've been watching us for a while, you may be able to guess this next exercise. It is the sideways step up. Now, this exercise is so important for strengthening your glute med. And we know this muscle plays a huge role in helping prevent and even manage hip and knee injuries. Now, when you've strengthened this muscle properly, you will feel it the next day. Your bum will be burning. All you need is a step up, and you can either grab dumbbells, kettlebells, or you can even use the Smith machine, whatever is more available for you at the time. Now, if you don't have access to the gym, do not fear, we've got you back. We've got a video which will pop up on the screen that you can watch that requires no equipment to perform, something that JB's been doing while he's been gallivanting around Asia for the last 3 months. Make sure to check it out if you want to take your running to the next level. No excuses, something that can be done either in your home or like JB in any hostel. Finally, we're going in for the kill. We're going to finish with a superset, but we're going to superset a straight leg calf raise with some knee extensions, and you will feel this to finish. So to do this, you can do 10 reps of your straight leg calf raise and then 10 reps of your knee extension. This is a great way to get your calves and thighs burning to finish your workout. Now, when we look at the gym, there's lots of machines and ways that we can load up our calf muscles. So to keep it simple, in this way, I'm just standing on a weight plate and I'm performing the calf raises with resistance. You can use a barbell, you can use dumbbells, and you can also use kettlebells, whatever your preference is. The other thing is you can use your leg press machine, but also sometimes the gyms will have a standing machine for you to use. So just pick whatever is most available to you. Here at the Physio Bros, we are for the everyday athlete. So if you're someone that works a 9 to 5 but still has some fitness goals that you want to achieve without compromising on your social life, then we're here to help you. Ultimately, we think it's possible to maintain your fitness goals whilst managing the other areas of your life. It shouldn't have to be all or nothing. So if that's something that you appeal to, then smash that subscribe button. Let's build some momentum to what a realistic, healthy lifestyle looks like.
We are going to be going for a run and showing you a few quick things on running technique. Let's go!
So cadence is the amount our feet hit the ground as we run per minute. So what that means is every time your foot strikes the ground, we count that across the full minute and that equals our cadence. Now a normal range for cadence is between 165 to 180. It's something that is worth being aware of because by looking at some people who have had injuries with running, we know cadence can be really important to manage to help reduce re-injury and help manage load coming up through our joints. Now, something that we see with slower cadence is people start having this vertical oscillation. They become less efficient as they run. They lose that push forward as they go. So by adjusting your cadence and increasing the speed of your cadence by about 5 to 10% can be a great way for increasing and improving the load coming up through our joints, but also making you a more efficient runner. In terms of the range that we're looking for, it's between that 165 to 180. But if you're someone that is running, you're injury free and you don't have any issues at the moment, then this is something that you have adapted over time to be conditioned for this cadence rate, and therefore you don't really need to change it. One of the things that can be really helpful is using something like a metro timer or music to help get you into the cadence rate that you want. And this is going to help you time your run and your cadence as you go.
So trunk positioning, it's really simple. If you're leaning too far back, this is going to kill your forward momentum and basically make you a really less efficient runner. So what we encourage as always is the slight lean forward positioning when you're running, because this is going to encourage forward momentum and improve your efficiency. The caveat to this though is if you bend too far forwards and you're really leaning far forwards and your legs have to catch up on the ground and they really slam into the ground, this leads to a concept called overstriding, and overstriding will increase ground reaction forces up through your legs. What it is, it's just thinking about the position of your foot placement on the ground relative to your body as you're running. So if your foot is really far out in front of you, when you hit the ground, then this is going to be your overstriding. It's going to thud into the ground, increases those forces. If your foot lands underneath your body as you're running, this is the perfect spot where we want you to be. Now, from this, you've got to think about your actual foot placement, and everyone harps on about everyone should be a midfoot striker, avoid heel strike because it's going to lead to injury. And this isn't actually true. There's no evidence to support a particular foot pattern. So if you're running comfortably, I wouldn't recommend changing a thing at the moment. What we tell our runners though, is that if you do have a midfoot strike, it's nothing to do with the actual foot positioning, but it's usually going to lead to a less overstriding pattern because your foot will land underneath you. But give these tips a go and see how they work. So the next tip we're going to talk about is your hip positioning, and in particular something called contralateral hip drop. What that means is basically when your stance leg hits the ground, your opposite hip drops to the ground. So it's dropping, you've got those swaying hips. So a good cue as you're running to stop your hips kind of popping out to the side like this is trying to tuck them up in so that they feel a bit more straight underneath. A good adjunct to this is trying to do some glute med strengthening, so some of that side strengthening, which we'll pop a vid up here that you can follow along with.
There are two really important things to address with your arm swing. The first is that your arms shouldn't be crossing your sternum or your midline. To correct this, what you want to do is try and point your thumbs up towards each shoulder as you run. This is going to maintain a more square running style, but also maintain your forward momentum. The second component is as you're running, you should be trying to drive your elbows backwards. This is going to give you a very similar effect where it's going to help maintain that forward momentum and also improve your running efficiency as you run.
Step width is the distance between your feet as they hit the ground. So the best way of thinking of this is imagine there's a line drawn on the floor in between your feet, and this is a great way to think about your step width. If your feet are crossing over or crossing over the line, then you've got a narrow step width. If your feet are wider on either side of the line, then you've likely got a wider step width. Now, when returning from injury, a great cue to think of is potentially to widen your step width. This is really good for returning from like ITB syndrome because it can reduce some of the load coming up through your legs, and it can just be a great cue to try. Now, one thing to note though is when you're at faster speeds, you'll naturally have a narrower step width. So we're talking here about just your general day-to-day speeds when you're running. So give this cue, widening your step width, a try. That's it, guys. So when you think about running technique, remember that there's lots of natural, healthy variety across lots of different people when it comes to running techniques, and that's okay. If you're running uninjured, then that's a good thing, and just keep doing what you're doing. But if you're not, try these few tweaks to help improve your running technique.
So guys, remember to like, comment anything below if you have any questions, and remember to subscribe. We'll see you next time. Welcome back, guys. Here at the Physio Bros, we create content for the everyday athlete. Now, today it was a beautiful morning. It was 5:30, it was dark and raining. But here we are, we're gonna show you an amazing hills workout. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna do 5 repeat 200-meter efforts up the hill with a walk back recovery. So without putting it off for too much longer, let's rip in. No excuses. Running in the rain is a beautiful thing. Starting off with a 500, 600 meter warm up just to get started for a beautiful hill session.
I had to switch up the flow, show you the way that it go. God is good, but his life is hard. But it gets better when you grind small. I'm just really
Getting serious.
tired of being who they say we are. That's the baton, we gon' take it far. I was the real, we don't fake it all. Tired of 9 to 5, just making enough to survive. Only living on the weekends. You really thinking that's why I'm alive? Listen, that scenes.
Man, that is brutal efficiency. It's been 13 minutes and I'm absolutely knackered. Got one more sprint effort to go. It's good though, you can make time for this. I'm fast as hell, boy.
I cannot fit in the boxes. Stop it. Quitting was never an option. Exhausted. This passion is never exhausted. And you cannot stop it. Nah, you cannot stop it.
Well done, guys, if you've just finished that hill workout. Now, if that was really easy for you, just make sure you add a couple of repeats next time you do it to really get challenged. Now, hill workouts are super important to be a component of your training, majority for the reason that they provide variety to your workouts. If you're just constantly doing 5K average pace workouts, you're not going to get stronger and you're not going to get faster or fitter. What hill workouts will do, they'll work on improving your stride length or quickening your stride length. They work at improving your muscle systems. You're working on your anaerobic capacity. So that's basically the system that you're working on 0 to 100 real quick movements. And lastly, they're also working on your cardiovascular fitness in that different way. So make sure you add these to your running program once a week or once every 2 weeks to give that variety and make you a better runner.
We're going to be showing you our favorite ankle exercises for runners.
Today's video, we're going to condense it into 2 minutes. So let's chuck that on the clock. Bang! Let's get into it.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Physio Bros. Today we're showing you our 6-week 5K running program that is designed to improve your 5K race pace.
Now this is perfect for runners who are averaging between 10 to 20 kilometers of running per week and also who can run up to 10 kilometers non-stop. So let's get straight into it. Now the 6-week program consists of 3 different types of run: an interval run, an easy run, and a threshold run. Now it's really important to consider the spacing and the reasoning behind why we set out the run the way we do. This particular run is organized across the 7 days, and it's usually centered initially on the long run from where we start. For us, we love doing our long runs on the Sunday, so our program is going to be based off that approach. However, if you're slightly different, just make sure you look at the days 1 to 7, and you can change the days to ones that suit you. Just make sure the order that you progress the runs in and your rest days match ours though. Why the spacing between your work and rest days is really important is that this program is designed so that you can get the most out of each training session to your optimal performance.
So as JB mentioned, we're going to start by looking at the Sunday long run. Now this is our long easy run in the program, which over the course of weeks 1 to 6 is going to range from 7 to 9 kilometers. Now for those that love your Sunday long run, it is acceptable to add 1 to 2 kilometers if you can manage, but we would really avoid adding any more than that because this is supposed to be your long easy run. From here, this leads into Mondays or day 1, week 1. Now this is a good day to plan the rest of your program, know where you're going to be doing your runs. But otherwise, for the rest of the program, it's all about chill and recovery. So do whatever you need to make your body feel great, because you're going to need it as you go through the weeks. So guys, go for a walk, swim, cycle, sauna, spa, do whatever you need to get your optimal recovery in.
So now that you're coming off the back of an easy run and also your recovery and chill day, your body is ripe and ready for your hardest session of the week, which is going to be your interval session. Now we've got a variety of different intervals in this program of different lengths, times, and hills, and this is going to be really good at keeping it bloody challenging, providing variety to you, and working on your anaerobic capacity, which is an essential thing to work on when you're trying to improve your 5K race pace. Now later on in the video, we're going to be breaking down each of these interval workouts, but Tuesday is your day to absolutely burn and work as hard as you can.
Now, as JB mentioned, you've just smashed out the hardest part of the program. So it's really important that you get your rest in. So for the next 2 days, you're going to rest from running. So on Wednesday, it's a nothing but recovery day. And then on Thursday, you can get your normal training routines in. So if that's going to the gym and doing strength training or swimming, cycling, or yoga, Pilates, then that's absolutely fine. And it's probably the best day of the week to fit that in.
So now that you're well rested, you are ready for your threshold run. And this is the second most challenging run in each week of the program. Now the distance will vary from between 5 to 7 kilometers as the weeks go on. And it's really important when you're doing these runs to monitor closely either your heart rate or something called your RPE, which means your rating of perceived exertion. Now these two scales are extremely important in understanding for this particular program, because this is going to be how you're going to base your intensity for your interval run, for your threshold run, and your easy run to ensure that you're doing each of them properly and to ensure that their purpose is met. Now if we think about the rating of perceived exertion, basically it's a scale from 0 to 10 on how hard or difficult an exercise feels for you to do. For a threshold run, we are aiming for an RPE of around 7 to 8. So this is vigorous intensity exercise and it's borderline uncomfortable, and you should only be able to say a short sentence. This is a really good way to track the intensity of the threshold run, because if you're doing it with a mate and you can talk with them the whole time, then this shows that you need to increase the intensity. If you can only get out a word or not even a word, then you need to drop the intensity to reach the appropriate target. Now the other way to track the intensity of your runs is by going off your heart rate. And what we do here is we want you to work out your maximum heart rate, and from there each type of run, your interval or your threshold or your easy, will be based off basically a percentage range of that maximum heart rate. So to delve into this a little bit deeper, the first step that you need to do is work out your maximum heart rate. Now there's lots of formulas out there, but the most simple one is just 220 minus your age is your maximum heart rate. So for me, I'm 26, so 220 minus 26 is 194. So that's my proposed maximum heart rate. Now just a bit of a disclaimer for using heart rate formulas to work out your maximum heart rate is that there can be some limitation to them. You might be someone whose heart rate runs quite fast, or you might be someone whose heart rate runs quite slow. And there's going to be natural variability from person to person with their maximum heart rate. If you do find that you're someone who lies outside in one of these categories, then we'd more recommend you to use the RPE scale to determine your intensity of exercise. So now that we've got that out of the way, we're going to think now about our threshold run. And the target of that for our heart rate is 80 to 90% of your heart rate maximum. So for me, if my maximum heart rate, as we worked out before, was 194 beats per minute, the 80 to 90% range is going to be of that number. So that's 155 to 175 beats per minute. And this is going to be the target range that you want to do your whole run in, and that's going to be your threshold run. Now threshold runs are one of your most important runs because they work on something called your lactate threshold. Now what this is the point as you're increasing the intensity of your running speed. Basically it's the point where your body starts producing a lot more lactate, and then the acids that are associated with it cause your muscle soreness. So as we train threshold runs over time and over the course of the program, the aim of doing these runs is going to be to delay the onset of that lactate threshold. And this means that you're going to be able to do more runs at a moderate to higher intensity without the associated muscle soreness. So when you're going out on these threshold runs, it's really important for you to know the intensity that you have to be working out, either by knowing the range of heart rate that you're targeting or by how much rate of perceived exertion you should be experiencing.
So now that you've finished your threshold run, it's really important to get your day of rest in on Saturday, which is going to get you nice and prepared for your Sunday long easy run. For these runs, you should really have your breathing under control and feel like you could hold short conversations. When you finish your run, you should really feel like you could have run for a little bit longer. Now, it's really important to know the purpose of each run. Our Sunday long run is all about maintaining our aerobic conditioning and also trying to increase the mileage in our legs throughout the week. In terms of intensity for your Sunday long run, you're aiming for about 70 to 80% of your maximum heart rate. Or in terms of RPE, you're aiming for moderate activity, which is 4 to 6, which we've discussed briefly, where you're able to breathe comfortably, you're able to converse in short sentences, and you really should be finishing your run like you could have gone a little bit further. So guys, there you have it. That's everything you need to know about the training program from days 1 to 7. But lastly, we need to cover a little bit more about the training intervals. Now at this point, if you're thinking this 5K running program is a little bit intense for me, then don't worry. We also have a running program where we go from 0 to 5 kilometers, which could be a good place to start. And this program that we're talking about today could be something that you could aim for.
Now for your interval training, you are aiming to work as hard as you possibly can and empty the tank for every single one of these workouts. What they're going to do is they're going to be working on your anaerobic ability. So basically your ability to work at the most high intensity that you possibly can. Now the intensity that you're going to be working at is going to be 100% intensity for that particular distance. So for example, if you're doing the 400 meters, which is the first week of the program, 10 400 meter repeats, you're trying to run as fast fast as you can for that particular 400 meters, where you can maintain that same speed throughout the 400 meters. You're not trying to run the first 50 meters of that as fast as you can and then slow down a lot towards the end of the rep. So pacing the speed for the particular distance that you're running at is going to be essential.
So to explain each week of the interval program, we're going to start with week 1. As JB mentioned, it's 10 lots of 400 meters where you're going to have a 90-second jog recovery. Week 2 is going to be 200 meter hill sprint efforts, and you're going to have a walk back recovery, which you're going to repeat for 8 repetitions. Week 3 is going to be 5 1K repeats with a 2-minute rest, which could either be walking or jogging. For each 1K repeat, you're going to be running at a faster pace than your 5K target race pace. Now for week 4, you're going to be doing 6 800 meter efforts, which you're going to have a 200 meter jog recovery. Now it's really important that you maintain that jog during that recovery and push everything out during those 800 meter efforts. Now week 5 is the last interval of the program. You've got 15 repeats of 60 seconds on, 60 seconds off. Now in this 60-second on period, you're going to be going as fast as you can, and the 60 seconds off is going to be a jog. So stay active in that recovery. And you're going to really have to try and hold that pace for the 15 repeats. Week 6 is where we start tapering. So you don't have any intervals in this week. It's all about just an easy run. So you're going to do a 6-kilometer easy run as a bit of a taper to prepare for your 5K trial the next week. So guys, that concludes our 6-week training program to increase your 5K race pace. And hopefully you hit a PB. Now, to prove that we're not just talking the talk and we are walking the walk, we've recruited some everyday athletes to complete our program who are aiming to improve their 5K race pace, which we're going to show you in a later video.
Welcome back to the Physio Bros. Today we're here with some everyday athletes who have just finished our 6-week 5K running program.
Today we're putting our program to the test and hopefully we're going to see some PBs set today. So let's go!
The plan is simple. 6 everyday athletes are going to be completing our 6-week running program, consisting of 3 runs a week, broken up into 3 different types of session: an interval run, a threshold run, and a long easy run. They will be putting in the miles to better their current pace and maybe even smash a PB after the 6 weeks. But first, let's take it back. Ready, set, go! 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 Push DB.
No, if you wouldn't like it. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. And then
Smashed it.
22.5 minutes.
Boom.
I'll tell you that. Blowing a gasket. It's too considerate.
Yes, dead, yeah.
That was tough. Yeah. That's a mental battle, isn't it?
Far out.
Something to look forward to in 6 weeks. Good work. Is that PB to begin?
No, not quite.
Not quite, so we've got some work to do.
Yeah.
How good. Good work, Jared. Let's go!
Hey! Boom. Ready for 11. So there you have it. Our 6 everyday athletes had clocked their initial time trials, and from here it was time for them to put in the work. And over the course of the next 6 weeks, they clocked run after run, even through full-time working, rain, travel, and social commitments. They smashed this program out of the park. Now it's time for us to put our money where our mouth is and see if this program got some actual results from these everyday athletes. Everyone ready, set, go! Go! These guys are out running their 5K and it is a lot warmer because we've come into summer, and also the wind is blowing a gale. So they've got tough conditions to try and break their PB, but they're smashing it. Get it, DB. Yes. Oh, baby. Boom. 20:07. How do you feel? Let's go. Huge. Mate, that's awesome. Get it, Kerno. Let's go. I think that's it. That's it. You're done. 21:16. How you feeling?
Dead. But good.
Beast mode.
Oh.
Hell yeah. Get there. You smashed it. 23:30. Nothing to worry about. How do you feel?
Good.
Up top. Well done. Killed it. Good work. Coming for you. He's gone home. This man's recovered from being unwell to come in today, so that's what the everyday athlete is all about. Putting in a performance. How you feeling?
Oh, weathered.
Okay.
Not the result I wanted.
That's all right.
It's all right. Next time,
Yep.
we'd be back at it.
Yeah.
Now Frank didn't improve his time, going from 23:19 to 23:37. We initially thought it was down to having the flu throughout the program, but he actually tested positive for COVID the day after. So it was a really impressive effort despite the circumstances.
Go Keels. You. Let's go. 25:40. Over a minute off.
Good work.
Well done.
Defeated.
The corpses.
Yes. How you feeling? 29:30. Just bug it. Let's go. You killed it. How do you feel? You just took 3.5 minutes off your time.
Good. I feel good.
Believe it's
Tired.
over?
Very relieved it's over. But I haven't run this fast in 5 years, so feeling good.
How good? Beast.
Peace.
There you have it, our 6 everyday athletes put in the work and on average took 2 minutes off their current 5K time, with 3 of them even achieving a personal best. If these athletes can do it, then anyone can.
That's it for today, guys. We've put our money where our mouth is and shown that our 5K program for everyday athletes delivers results. If you haven't checked it out already, make sure you do so. It's in the description.
Make sure you smoke that like button and subscribe, because we have plenty of content like this to come. We'll see you next time. Hey guys, welcome back to the Physio Bros. Today we're going to be telling you everything you need to know about glute strengthening. Now there's a lot of information out there on social media, so today we wanted to be the one point of reference for you so you can strengthen and optimize your glute strength properly.
So today what we're going to be doing is splitting this off into 5 different categories. We're going to be doing a squat, a hinge, a bridge, a step, and then also some accessory movements as well. Now, for all of these different categories, we're going to provide you different levels so that you can progress and target the glute exercise to whatever level you're at. So without further ado, let's rip straight in.
So guys, the first cab off the rank, the first glute exercise that I always love to introduce is a variation of a step up. So to get started, we're going to do a front step up, which JB is going to demonstrate just here for us. Now, as you can see, he's using a wall to get started. The other thing that you can do to make it a bit of a regression is you can do it from a reduced step height. One of the things that we can do with this is always we can add resistance as well with our step ups. So adding in with dumbbells, you can hold it just down by your side, or if you have the space for it, you can also use a barbell Now we know based on research that this is one of the best exercises to really activate your glute max. The second variation of a step up is a sideward step up, so stepping up to the side. My preference is to start up on top of the step and then you're going to lower yourself down, touching the ground with your heel as you go. So you're really focusing on the slow control as you come back down. Now JB started with a bit of a progression because we've kept the weights in his hands, but of course you can start this without any resistance. The slower you go, the more controlled, the better. Now this exercise has been shown to really help activate through your glute med. Now this is going to be something really important because when we perform glute strengthening, it's not just about activating your glute max, but also about targeting your other muscles as well, including your glute med. So they're the two best variations of a step up to perform to help activate and really target your glutes.
And then lastly, if you did want to progress the step ups more, but you're worried about balance using a barbell on your back, you can actually use a Smith's machine if you've got access to one at the gym. And this is a really good way to be kind of locked in and to be secure, but challenge yourself with a heavier weight. So you can also give that one a try. Now, this is one of the most important exercises for glute strengthening, and it's your bread and butter exercise. So we're gonna go through the different variations that you can do, starting from the easiest and then progressing up to the hardest. So if you look at DB now, the easiest setup is just going to be standing at a kitchen bench, at a chair, something you can hold onto for some support, and then just going through your range. Now, it might be half range, it might be full range, down to the floor parallel. Just having something to hold onto can make it a lot easier. Now from here, you're then going to get rid of the arm support. So this is just your regular bodyweight squat. Again, it depends on the depth, but you can go starting off trying to get your thighs parallel to the floor. This could progress even more if you'd like by elevating your heels, and then you can get deeper through the range. So covering your whole thigh over your calf, as is demonstrating that now. From here, you've pretty much got a full range body weight range of motion squat. So from here, this is where we've got to think about adding resistance. So the easiest way of adding resistance to start off with can be using dumbbells. So this can just be holding it across your chest, cross over, it can just be dangling it by your side. It doesn't really matter as long as you're comfortable. And from here, you're working through range. Now, it depends on what access you have and what you've got available to you, because if you're trying to develop strength, the best way of developing strength is lower reps. So targeting around that 4 to 6 mark for pure strength gains. But in order to do that, you need to have weight available. So DB is not going to hit his 4 to 6 rep max holding 4 kilo dumbbells. This is where you essentially need gym equipment. So you need barbells to be able to weight yourself up to actually hit that target range appropriately. You've got to think about, if you don't have gym equipment, how you can challenge yourself with lower weights. So the first one, an easy one, is then to make it from a double leg exercise into a single leg exercise. So using weights, DB might battle through this one a bit, but you can use weights to counterbalance yourself if you're starting off early, or you can hold on to something as well. So if DB drops the weights after this rep, you might have to swap legs as well, but he can hold on to a chair or something probably a bit more sturdy and work through that range using his arms. Now, you don't have to get full range through this. It's a progressive overload. So you might be starting through half range and then working through. Another example is doing, I'm gonna stack it on the weights, is doing some sit to stands, single leg from a chair. Now this is really good again for knee control. All right, so our last exercise in the squat component is a great one to isolate single legs, and it's the Bulgarian split squat, and DB is gonna run you through this one.
It's gonna lift your right leg or your other leg back up onto the chair, and you're just lowering down through range. Now, obviously, to allow for strengthening, you can start with body weight if you're just new to this exercise, but then ultimately what we wanna do is add resistance. So you can get creative with what resistance there is. If you have access to a gym, then fantastic. You can either use dumbbells, or you can even use a barbell as well to perform this for strengthening.
Now, you may have been told by a physio before that your glutes aren't firing, or they're completely switched off and they don't work properly. But this is actually a myth. Because if your glutes weren't firing properly, you wouldn't be able to walk, you wouldn't be able to stand up, and you'd probably have some neurological damage or nerve damage that would actually cause your glutes to switch off. So when we talk about it through this video, if we say that your glutes aren't working properly, or if we're wanting to strengthen them, that's the goal of these exercises. It's to be able to target your glutes specifically and strengthen their capacity to work through a range of motion. So if you have heard this from a physio before, make sure you let us know down in the comments and tell us out of these exercises which one makes you absolutely burn the most.
So guys, the next form of strengthening for your glutes is a hinge type movement. Now obviously you've got your exercises like a deadlift or your RDLs. To start off, we're going to start demonstrating a standard deadlift. As you do this, feet are shoulder width apart, you're keeping the bar nice and close to your body as you go and work through your comfortable range. Now in terms of strengthening, if you're just getting into deadlifts, then you're better off starting a bit lighter, 3 lots of 10. Really work on being comfortable as you go. You want to avoid over activation, overarching through your lower back, which JB is demonstrating just there. So as you do it, you want to maintain that nice neutral spine, move with a comfortable weight to get started. You can always increase weight as you go. The next variation of an exercise is a double leg RDL. So starting in a similar setup with your feet shoulder width apart, you're just working on both your glutes and your hamstrings in this exercise. Similar principle, keeping the bar nice and close to your legs as it comes down. You're maintaining much more of a neutral spine with this exercise once again, so you don't want to be arching too much.
And for this one in particular, most of the movement's coming from your hips, so you're actually hinging a lot more. You'll actually feel your hamstrings really tear at the bottom of the rep, and then you're pulling up and squeezing your glutes at the top, rather than with the conventional deadlift, a lot more movement in your knees. So trying to maximize the movement in your hips and minimize the movement in your knees for this particular one.
And the next exercise is going to be a single leg RDL, which JB is going to demonstrate with the equivalent of a barbell as we go through there. So single leg offset RDL, this is a great exercise just to help bias one leg at a time. Really important to find if you feel symmetry or similar strength on both sides as you perform this exercise. Which leads us into our next exercise, which is going to be the arabesque. Now, the arabesque is a great variation for both glute and hamstring strengthening. Once again, it's a posterior chain exercise. As JB is wonderfully demonstrating here, you're dropping the weight down with one arm. And now this is something that you really feel on, in this demonstration, on his left leg, really activating through his glutes and his hamstrings as he goes here. I also love it, it's a great proprioceptive exercise, so any of these single leg variations are fantastic.
And you're gonna see how my leg shakes as I'm doing it, because it's a really good control exercise for that stance leg.
So guys, while you're getting comfortable with these hinge-based movements, keep the resistance on the lighter side so you're comfortable with these exercises. Now, a really basic strength principle is as you get stronger and you're increasing the weight, aiming for about 5 reps and 5 sets for these exercises and adjusting the weight appropriate to that amount. But until then, start with 3 lots of 10, keep it light, get comfortable before progressing too quickly.
So the next lot of exercises that we want you to choose from is our bridging category. Now there's 3 main ones here. The first one is your double leg bridge. The really important part with the bridge is having your feet flat on the ground and pushing equally through your feet. If you put your weight just through your heels, it's gonna bias your hamstrings, which isn't what we want for the time being. So he's pushing through the ground, he's lifting his hips up, and then at the top he's gonna squeeze for 3 to 5 seconds and hold. Now this is a really good way to get an awesome glute burn. To make this slightly more challenging, he can add a band as well, because the glutes are great at being hip extensors, but they also work for external rotation. So if he puts a band around his upper thighs, a little bit of external rotation resistance, so pushing his knees out, and then works through the range, this can be a great way to target both glute max and glute med in this particular exercise. So from here, we're going to get rid of the band and we're going to move on to our single leg bridging, which is our next progression. So he's going to lie back down, one of his legs is going to be up in the air, and then he's going to be pushing through the single leg and working through that range. Again, same principles, if you can squeeze at the top, that's excellent to do to get that lasting burn and a bit of an isometric hold in there too. Now the last progression is best done at the gym with a barbell or a Smith's machine. So getting some weight and trying to work really into that strength capacity of your glutes. So higher weight, lower reps, aiming for that 4 to 6 repetition range. So you're holding the weight across your hips at the front. Now you can use towels or sometimes even foam to make it a bit more comfortable. And it's the exact same movement of the bridge, pushing through your feet, driving into the ground and lifting up your hips up into the air and holding. Now these, adding a bridge exercise is essential to your glute strengthening program.
Hey there, look at you guys staying to the end of the video. Good for you. The next exercise is going to be the glute accessory exercises, or the paint me like a French girl. Now to start off, we're going to do the more conventional clam exercise. Now this one is very low load and a fantastic way to get you back to targeting your glutes. Now this is really important for people who are coming back from injury or potentially can't do the more dynamic exercises like we've already performed. If you find yourself compensating, you're rolling back through your hips as you do this, then this is not ideal for adequate glute control and exercise. So we're going to compensate, or we're going to make up for that by lying against a wall, which is going to avoid you from over rotating and dropping back. Now if that's getting too easy, then we're just going to shift away from the wall and we're going to add a resistance band around our knees. And this is a great variation to get you starting to do with these exercises, or a clam with resistance. So aiming for about 3 lots of 10, really ample way of targeting your glutes. And a good progression from this is now to go from a lying position into standing. We always drop the band around our ankles. There's a bit of research out there to say that this is going to help really target your glutes more so, and it's going to help reduce the amount of activation that you get through other muscles like your TFL, for example. The first one is a crab walk, so going down into a quarter squat or a half squat position, and you're aiming to move from side to side as we go. Now you can always increase the resistance as it gets easier, or try and step out further. And then another variation is a monster walk, where we're starting in a similar half squat, quarter squat position, and we're trying to move out to the side as we go, without dropping or coming too far up. Then another variation of an accessory muscle exercise is the side plank. Now there's some good research out there that doing a side plank is a great way for strengthening up through your glute med. It's low load, but it's going to really target your glute as you're working. Now if this is getting easy, then we can start adding in variations to the exercise, like a leg lift using your other leg. So we're going to be getting glute activation through both sides while we're doing this progression. If this is getting easy, once again, you can add in resistance, but for me, this is probably good enough for now.
There you go, guys. There's the 5 categories of exercise for glute bulletproofing. You've got the squat, you've got the hinge, you've got the step, the bridge, and accessory movements. So pick a couple from each and give it a red hot crack. It's a known fact that strength training improves long distance running in both speed and injury prevention. So here's a routine that you can do if you don't have access to the gym or weights. You're going to start your warm up by touching on some neglected areas. So pogos are starting off by bouncing up and down, staying on the toes and not letting your heels touch the ground. You start off with double leg and then move to single leg. These are great for ankle stability and power, as well as a great calf burn. This will transition into your hamstring walkouts, which you start on your feet in a bridge position and then you transition the weight to be pushing down through your heels. This will then put a bias onto your hamstrings over the glute muscles, and you should get some nice isometric holds in here too. Squats finish off our warm up to get our glutes and quads nice and warm. Now the main set is split off into different combinations, and there's 4 combinations in total. There's 2 different exercises targeting different muscle groups in each combination, and you're going to act it like a superset. So you do one set of one and then straight into the set of the other, with minimal rest in between. Now, we don't have access to weights here, guys. That's the point of this workout. So your reps should be high and your rest should be minimal in order to get adequate volume to make improvements. Now the first combination is going to start off with lunges. Now these are a fantastic exercise for working on your single leg strength for both your quads and your glutes. Now I don't care how you do it, you can alternate your legs, you can do one at a time, but just make sure you smash out those reps. Straight into our secret exercise, the soleus calf raise. Now this muscle plantar flexes the foot or points the toes when the knee is in a bent position. The muscle is used a lot more than your more well-known and well-trained calf muscle, the gastrocnemius, when running. Enough said. Our second combination starts with Bulgarian split squats, which are phenomenal at single-handedly destroying your quads in this workout. Now running is a single leg activity. Both legs need to be individually great, not one hiding behind the strength of the other. Including unilateral or one-sided exercises into your routine, just like this one, will sort you out perfectly. This is combined with our straight leg calf raises, which as mentioned before target the gastrocnemius. Now this is the calf muscle that points the toes when the knee is in the straight position. Our third combination is a sneaky excuse for a rest because it's only actually one exercise. Get onto your side, squeeze your groin muscle of your upper leg by pushing your upper leg down into the chair to hold yourself up in a straight line. If this is too challenging, bend your upper leg to make it slightly easier. Our final combination starts off with single leg RDLs or arabesques, which target your upper hamstring. These are your wombo combo exercises because they will not only work on your strength, but also your balance and the proprioception of your ankle complex all at once.
This leads into a dynamic core exercise. Starting in the plank position, you bring your knees one at a time up to the opposite elbow. It's basically mountain climbers with a twist. Why I love this exercise is that it targets both the obliques and the abdominals, which work on stabilizing and rotating the torso during running. Now, this is especially important when you're trying to reach those higher speeds. Now that is it. You've just managed to finish an elite level strengthening program when you don't have access to any weights. You're going to be more adaptable to increased training volumes. You've built the capacity in your legs, and this will be a perfect challenge for you to do twice a week over a 6 to 8 week period to make sure you maximize the benefits of this program. Now, strength improves running. It's a proven fact. It reduces your chance of injury. It improves the capacity of your muscles to reduce those load-related injuries, which are 99% of your running injuries that you'll likely see. So make sure that you're giving this program a crack to maximize the benefits you can out of your training currently. Lastly, I just want to touch on the fact that using higher weights and lower reps will improve the strength capacity of your muscles much more efficiently and effectively. And that's proven in the literature with targeting higher loads or even some weighted plyometric exercises, which we'll be showing you in future videos. Eliud Kipchoge, the best marathon runner of all time, does his workout similar to this one that we've just worked through. He does high reps, low weight training. And so if it works for him, it can definitely work for you. So make sure you give it a shot.